Some creepy dude watches Dax bite her lower lip when she's concentrating. The alien planet Meridian has a fruit that looks exactly like a golden bell pepper. And Kira and Odo do their best Ross and Rachel impressions. Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc.
What's up, guys?
With us today is Mr. Scott K. Baker. How are you, Scott?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't.
It's G actually. My middle initial is G, but
GK Baker. And today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 3, Episode 8, Meridian, directed by Jonathan Frakes, written by Mark O'Connell, although I'm not sure if he wants us to tell us, everybody, that. Cirroc, you were saying this is probably not just the best Star Trek episode you've ever seen, but maybe the best episode you've seen in the history of television, right?
Yeah, with the best title. So I thought this was all around the best episode ever. No, not really not my favorite episode. It wasn't bad. I noticed Jonathan Frakes directed, so it was good to see that, he put in his stamp on this. But sometimes it felt a little soap opera for me, like a little soap opera-ish.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching an old sitcom from like the 80s or 90s. That's why I said that they do their best Ross and Rachel impression. That's right. What the first thing I thought when Kira goes, Odo here is my lover. This is my lover. Aren't you, Ross? Oh, why, yes, I am your lover. Boy, gee, isn't she great? I mean, we've seen that on every sitcom in the history of television, right?
Yeah.
I have to say though, this is one of those ones where I did find that B story to me was more interesting than the A story. The whole thing of Quark trying to capture her image to put in the holodeck for Jeffrey Combs's character. I thought that was a far more interesting than the love story phasing planet bit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Scott. As a matter of fact, that's one of my notes that I wrote, that I like the B story better than the A story. And I would have changed the title of this to The Things I Do for Money. I think that was a quote from Quark at some point. And I wrote down, alternate title, The Things I Do for Money, because that would have been a better storyline for me. Just focusing on that. Because the love story, we knew that's the problem of watching these things in hindsight for me, is that I know that Dax is going to be there next season, right? So right away, you already know she's not going to go running off with him. And,
right.
I guess if you're watching it at the time, you might think that. There may be the small doubt of you inside of you that said, oh, wow, I wonder if she's coming back next episode. But watching it in hindsight is like, okay, so let's see how this is going to play out. Either he's going to flake on it or she's going to flake on it, on the romance running off together. But I just didn't like that storyline because it felt a little bit too soap opera-ish for me.
What if she comes back and she's like, okay, Sisko, I've healed and I'm ready to come back to duty. And he goes like, oh no, you quit, man. Sorry, I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know. You quit.
Yeah.
Talk to Starfleet. I don't know you can't just like quit forever, leave us all hanging, make the captain cry, tell everybody goodbye, and then come back and be like, anyway, I'll just take my job back. No, they replaced you, man. Sorry.
Yeah.
We replaced you with Rufus.
Went through.
Yeah, Rufus is here. You got to take it up with him. Sorry.
Meet Esri.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was going to say they missed a golden opportunity to introduce a new character in her job and then give him the shaft at the end of the episode by saying, sorry, dude, you're out.
Yeah,
right.
That would have been good.
Yeah, this Dural guy wanted to give her the shaft too. No, I think that the title for this episode really should have been like, which dude is creepier? I mean, that Tyrion guy, I know we're supposed to think that he's a total pervy creep, but I felt like this epidural guy was even creepier like Durall, like, but she just fell for it. I mean, he was such a freaking douche. Have you guys ever seen like a total douche tool, like feeding lines to somebody? And you're like, oh, she's totally going to smack him down. And she goes, oh, and you're like, what? How did that work? And that's what I felt like when I was watching this tool.
Well, it works because it's not what he was saying; it's who's coming from. Because she thought he was attractive, so he could say anything that he says that could be creepy is, like, oh, he's a pickup line or something.
Yes, we've learned this unwritten rule many a time.
Well, he did say one line that I thought needed to be said at some point, something that everybody talks about and asks, and even I've said to Dex, Terry Farrell at one point, which is how far did the spots go down, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the low hanging pickup line that any guy would probably jump on at some point or another. Mm-hmm. So that one, I'm glad he said it, because it kind of needs to be said at some point during the arc of the show, right? Somebody has to say it.
Cirroc, when she said they go all the way down, were you like, yes?
Yeah. Well, I got the answer that I was looking for. But yeah, then he went on about his spots, and then I was all out of it again.
There's a spot joke in there that I'm not touching.
All of a sudden, isn't that?
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, what makes these guys aliens? They just kind of have like eyeliner that like extends out, like Cleopatra or whatever. That was couldn't really tell. I feel like that's all they had, right?
Yeah, I just didn't like, and I didn't like the whole, like, a planet pops up in the middle of nowhere because of the cross section of two alternate universes or whatever. That just was too convenient. Then they'll disappear in 60 years. I just didn't. It was just too much for me to just like get right now at this moment. It didn't have anything to do with the Dominion or where they're trying to go with the storyline. Seemed like it's just an odd place to put it.
So what you're trying to say is, Scott Baker, we need you to do your best Aaron McDonald impression and explain to us how something like that could happen.
Oh, no idea.
Shout out to Aaron McDonald.
Yeah, I'll just sidestep that question and move to the story.
Very good sidestep. Very good.
I mean, just like, because I think not only was the B story interesting in the characters and what Koch was trying to do, and the sort of unrequited love / lust of, I don't remember the character's name, the Jeffrey Combs character.
Tyrion. Tyrion. Well, you can call him Tyrion.
Tyrion. But like, it's actually like sort of foreshadowing some of the stuff that we're dealing with today. I don't know how much you guys have seen like the deep fake videos that go on, where they put somebody's face on somebody else's performance in a movie and stuff like that. And like we've got Princess Leia now. She's like Carrie Fisher's dead, showing up in the Star Wars movies, and this like using people's images and their likeness without their permission for this kind of stuff. Like, obviously in the 90s when this was written, they didn't have that kind of technology, and I don't know if that's at all what they were looking at. But I mean, I think that kind of definitely has those kind of ramifications today.
You know what I was thinking was similarly was, let's say somebody's doing a holodeck video of me and they're scanning me. Okay. So now they've got what I look like in a t-shirt and jeans, right? So now everything else, they're going to have to guess. What does he look like in a tank top or a shirt off or whatever like that? What if I see that? I'm like, that's not my body. I'm not that furry. Or my bun isn't as bulbous as that. I wish it were. Like the rest of the way, you're just guessing, kind of like, just like, yeah. I mean, they went with it in a much better direction, which was then you don't even know what you're getting with the face either, apparently.
Yeah, it took him 3 times to get my crotch right on my action figure, so I know exactly what you're talking about. No,
well, with some of those outfits, I feel like you didn't leave much guesswork, but I don't know.
No, it's just a joke out, guys. But it's funny because one thing that I did notice was that Dax's boyfriend, what was his name, Durall? He kind of had one of my old outfits that I was noticing. He had the vest with the jazzy shirt on, and I figured, I was like, wow, this planet dresses exactly like Jake, right?
It's a planet of Jakes.
This alternate universe planet has my same stylist, apparently. Once again, I just have to reiterate, but I do say that Jeffrey Combs was pretty damn awesome because he's just so good. Number one, he's completely different in this character than he is as Wei-Yun, and I'm sure than other characters that he's played that I haven't seen. But just his performance is so spot on. He actually invokes that kind of fear and terror inside of Quark's, only scared of the real badasses or only intimidated by people that either have a whole lot of money or can kill him. And he plays that very well. I like the lines, the way he delivers it straight to Quark, and he does look like a perv. It's funny because the whole time I was thinking as I was watching this episode, I was like, well, why doesn't the guy from the alternate universe just get the hologram image of Dax so he can be satisfied? They like reverse the stories, You
got to reverse the polarities. Yeah. Well, because Dax wanted to go with him too.
Yeah.
That was the other part. But to add to the Jeffrey Combs thing, because you're right, he does like reinvent himself for every role. And if you're paying attention, you can always tell, okay, that's Jeffrey Combs. That's who he, you can recognize him for sure. But if you're not paying attention to him, it doesn't jump out that that's him. Only one time in the episode did it hit me. I was like, oh, that's right. Where it was a Jeffrey Combs ism. And that was at the end when he was walking in to Quark Kira and he's like opening the veil. And when he does that, he kind of did like this thing where his kind of chin was in. And when it showed like a little side angle of him going like this, and I was like, oh, that's like a little thing that I didn't know he did until I recognized it on Tyrion. But I do want to ask for the ladies in the audience, both of you, in the comments below, please let us know. I'm really interested in this. Which character was creepier, Tyrion or Dural? I know Tyrion was supposed to be the perv and the creep and the yucky guy and the rapey guy. But for me, Dural was just slimier to me. But maybe I'm way off. So let us know in the comments below, is the pervy rapey guy creepier or is the flirty squirty douchey tool guy Dural? I don't know. Maybe I'm way off here. What do you think, Scott? Or Cirroc?
Well, at least Dural had some feedback from the girl he's into, and so she showed interest in him. Whether his lines were cheesy and corny, that's a matter of opinion, but it seemed to have worked, and they liked hanging out. He also was a gentleman about taking her out on the forest walk and, showing him the little really beautiful landscape that I thought was really nice. I was wondering where they filmed it.
Me too.
But I love that tree they went to go sit in and that little pond area. So I thought that at least he was a gentleman about taking her on a nice picnic type date.
What do you think, Scott? Who would you rather be courted by?
Yeah, I mean, I think a part of like what makes like the creepy factor is whether or not it's well received, right? If you say something to a girl and she obviously is not receptive to what you've just said, but you continue with it, then that's when the creepiness comes in. It's like you couldn't pick up on that subtle kind of thing, And I liked his line. He said, "Oh, I was just waiting for the right woman to fall out of the sky," or something like that. I thought that was
yeah. I swooned at that one too.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bit predictable, but I thought it was good. The love story just to me that just wasn't enough to hold my interest in the episode.
Well, I think that's what it was. I think for me it was just like, I'm like, I can't believe Dax is. You're right. It is about if they're receptive to it, But I just couldn't believe Dax was receptive to it. I'm like, this guy's just as bad or worse than the other guy. But I guess it worked. But I'm glad you brought up the tree because I didn't want to mention the tree. When she says, "I'm afraid of heights," and he's like, "Oh, I won't let you fall and all. And they're like 4 feet in the air, dude. Like, it was like a rung and another rung. And she said, I'm like, okay, so it's like a stool. You're sitting on a stool, really.
You're on the top of a slide.
Yeah. Like, and he's like, I will
break your leg.
Yeah. It wasn't that much. Yeah, that was kind of funny. It was a funny little moment. But once again, to me this was more like you meet somebody in Vegas, you have fun with them, and it's only for that weekend or that day that you're around. It's not like you run off and sell everything you own and change your life up. And to me, that's what it was weird about this relationship. It was like, okay, this is a fantasy once in every 60 years, Halley's Comet kind of romance thing would have been great. You have a baby with the guy or something. I don't know. Something that I felt like it was set up more for like the one night stand than for the love of all time.
Speaking of Vegas, everybody at home, check out virtualtrekcon.com. Am I right, Scott Baker and Cirroc Lofton?
Yes.
I think so.
Check out virtualtrekcon.com. It's the biggest virtual convention event ever in the history of the world, basically, right? In any quadrant too. Yeah. The first. Yeah. The first.
At least the first announced.
So many guests.
Yeah.
We got Nana Visitor. We have Doug Jones. We have Armin Shimmerman. We have a special announcement from a lady named Michelle Nichols, Alexander Siddig, all kinds of people. Check it out, virtualtrekcon.com or anything online, social media at virtualtrekcon. Anyway,
how much is it to get in there?
That's a great question, Cirroc, and I'm glad you asked it. Nothing. It's free because we're all philanthropists just trying to be part of this awesome community that's been so awesome to us. Everybody is working tirelessly for free. That's going to be us. That's the guests as well. Hopefully the vendors can profit a little bit from it to make up for how much they must have lost this year. Must have been devastating for them, as well as the fans must have been devastated, the ones that have lost their jobs, and the guests as well, because they're not going to conventions. So everybody's being hurt by this. We're all just trying to come together and all be friends and supportive for a few days.
Yeah.
I swear, so we have a few minutes left, and I swear at some point we're going to start hitting things that we liked about this episode.
At some point.
We'll find something.
I just happened, in the opening shot of the show, we got Kira drinking she's drinking some sort of coffee or something out of her mug, and it just so happens that I have the exact same.
Oh wow!
So these.
Wait, hold it up a little longer. Nice.
So now, did you get that at an auction for Star Trek items that have been used on episodes?
Actually, this was my dad's mug. We bought it for him for Father's Day when I was a real little kid. These were sold as like travel mugs that you could put in your car
for commuting. I remember those.
Yeah. It used to have like a little grippy thing on the bottom, and it has since worn down. But the style of it is such that when you have liquid like below this line, no matter how you shake it, the liquid is not going to spill out. This was before they had like plastic ones with lids and sippy. This was like late 80s or something like that,
Right. My dad had one of those too, or two of those or something like that. They were very popular in the early 80s and 90s. Or late 80s and 90s. And so Kira needed that because she was always fighting so she could sip her coffee and it's not spilling, and she's doing karate chops and stuff.
Yeah, no, I like seeing that.
Yeah, I think they probably just got them because it has a unique shape, and so it's like, oh, this is kind of. This is the brown one, so it doesn't look as like sci-fi. The one in the episode was blue, and so it's got this unique kind of like. Yeah, sci-fi look to it. But I thought that was interesting. I was watching that episode. I was like, wait, I've got that mug in my cupboard.
By the way, we see the Fifth Passenger poster behind you. Scott Baker is writer, producer, director of Fifth Passenger, starring 10 former Star Trek actors. Is it 11 now that Doug Jones is in Discovery, or was he number 10? I don't remember.
I think he was number 10, yeah.
Okay. So, anyway... We got a few minutes
Amazon
left,
and all these other places you can watch it for free. So just look for Fifth Passenger. You can find it.
why is everything free? Does anybody charge anything anymore?
It's all like ad-based revenue now. So yeah, you don't make money by people paying to watch it. It's like advertisements go on it, so you watch the advertisements and then get paid by the advertisers.
Yeah,
strange world we live in.
Cirroc, you're an avid coffee drinker. I did want to ask you, because they mentioned that at the very beginning, speaking of what Scott's mentioning, when he says, if it's too hot, Odo says to Kira, if it's too hot, why don't you specify a lower temperature? Kira says, well, it needs to be a little too hot. It slows down the experience, enhances the taste, and I was like, oh, shoot, that kind of makes sense. Do you guys find that's the case for you? You want it to be too hot so that you can really just sip it longer?
Yeah, I do want it hot because you actually find that perfect zone where while it's cooling down, where it's tolerable and you can keep going down on it. So I do like it hot.
Yeah, if you get the perfect temperature right away, then it might be too cool by the time you're actually like sitting down with it and you start to drink it. Like one drink is just fine, and then like after a couple minutes, then it's too cool. Because if it starts to get too cool, then it's less pleasant until you get it down to where it's iced, and then it's more pleasant when it's ice cold. Like today, I'm drinking my cold brew. It's iced, and that's super pleasant on a hot day.
Yep. No, that's what I do too. So I usually when I first get it, I just take that little sip on the top that almost burns your tongue a little bit because it's so hot. But you just want the flavor. You just want to like that little tiny flavor, and let that sit and marinate in your mouth while it's cooling down. And then eventually, if I don't finish my coffee, I'll just put it in the refrigerator and drink it later for cold coffee action.
Plus, it's like a tester, right? You're like, how hot is this thing really? Oh, okay, really hot. Let me give it. That's about a 3-minute wait. Okay.
If it's super hot, you can feel it right before you get like steaming at your nose, and you're like, all right, let me hold off on this.
That's actually what Dax said about Doral when he was going to kiss her. He was so hot and steamy, like right before she even touched him, she felt his heat. She's like, whoa, dude, you got to relax, man.
Hey, speaking of that, wasn't this episode full of like a bunch of technobabble? I thought it was a little extra technobabbled up. I wrote some of them down. The gravimetric distortions.
Yeah, Doral had the most technobabble for sure.
Modulated gamma bursts. I was like, what the hell are they? The fusion imbalance, cascade reaction on the quantum level. I was like, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. It all comes down to it. It's like your planet is phasing in and out, so we're just going to shoot something at your sun, and then that's going to solve the problem. Like, it's just like, okay, sure, why not?
That's exactly what it boils down to. It's a fancy way of saying that.
Yeah. I question. So Quark was trying to get Kira into the holodeck thing. So there's never an episode before this where Major Kira appears in a holodeck program?
Right, I don't think so, right, Cirroc?
No, I don't think so either. I think Take Me Out to the Holosuite might be the first one that we're going to come up on. I don't think we've come up on it yet. But
Season 7, I think.
I don't think so. I don't think she's been in there. I've never heard her express that she had dislike for the Holosuite, though. This was the first time I heard
just
that.
Like her image, like there was no other character like previously that was doing some sort of like bridge simulation where they were interacting with a holodeck version of Kira in a prior episode.
I mean, they did. They hadn't mentioned it yet, to our knowledge.
Oh, okay.
I do believe that Kira mentioned in an episode maybe a few weeks ago when we had Nana on with us that she said, I don't like holosuite programs or something, like, and then Quark was like, well, I'd like to try to get you under, and she's like, you could try, or something, something where she put him down again. She shot him down.
Yeah.
Let's go to a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about all kinds of just fun things. Boy, oh boy.
I came up with a couple of, on the other side of this break, I came up with a couple of my Ryan intros that
oh man, I can only imagine. All right, we'll stay tuned for that. We'll be right back on the 7th Rule.